be like, welcome.
I'm Bozo the Clown.
You can start.
You already have a recording? I just put it to you. Damn it, let us know when it starts recording. But anyway,
Action.
this time we're
Slept too long and made a fool of myself. I've carried on with opportunity.
So, I am here with
Hassel.
Hazel and
Shy, Leo Guzman.
Guzman, and my name is Harris. And I'm here interviewing these two fine gentlemen towards the album of Salvia, which is called Ignite.
So far.
So far. Tentative working title from professionals.
No. It is Ignite. I'm just fucking.
We're all joking here. But this interview is pretty much a feature to know more about this band that is about to release on September 20th. And this is a rock band who is coming from Washington Heights. And we're here to know more about them. They already have 2 singles on Spotify. One is named The Hill, and the most recent one called Ignite, which is the same title as the album.
It is.
God damn it.
Something like that. Don't worry. You're doing good.
But this is the semi-not serious interview.
Not when I'm around.
Interview.
It's Salvia, man.
Since I listened to the album earlier today. I've listened to mostly the 2 singles, mostly on Spotify. Actually, mostly the 1 single, The Hill, until recently on Spotify. How did the band come about, and what type of message you're trying to come across with this band?
Yeah, this is a question for me, huh? Well, actually, this band formed in 2015. I got together with a college buddy of mine and a former teacher, a history teacher, when I was teaching at one of the schools. And he played bass. And then a gospel drummer that I met at a nonprofit named Urban Art Beat. And he was there doing some community service because he got in some trouble with the law. He was only 17 years old at the time. And I had this vision with, always doing a rock band type thing. Yeah. And when, so what happened was that when it came time to start doing music on my own, because I was performing with other people, other bands, and hip hop artists, R&B artists, and all that,
yes.
And doing the solo classical guitar.
He's actually making money.
No, I wasn't. So I was like, you know what? Fuck all this. I'm gonna follow my passion, follow the sound that I hear in my head, and so I formed Salvia. But before it was called Salvia, it was called Cavalry, and that's around the time where I met Leo, and Cavalry existed for about a few months, and then we got a cease and desist letter for the name.
So you guys went through one of the biggest growing pains nowadays that you didn't used to happen, where you could name your band almost anything before someone would be like, okay, we have this trademark. Yeah. And there, I had friends that started, went through 4 or 5 names, and no, we're breaking up. Can't come up with a name.
With the social media.
It's almost impossible to come up with a good name. So, how long did it take you to come up with this name?
Well, it actually didn't take me too long because I always knew about salvia. Salvia is a plant,
Yeah.
Salvia is.
I have no idea what do you mean by that.
Stupid. It's a plant that makes you really
happy.
Not happy. It makes you go crazy. And it takes you on a wild fucking ride. And so, when it came time to writing the music, and I was listening to like the different styles that we usually incorporate, the fusion part of it, every song is different. Every song takes you on a wild ride, and the idea is that you never know what to expect from us. We could do something completely extreme. We could do something that's soft and gentle. We could do something that's in between. All that type of shit. So.
Do you worry at any point for trying so many different things and in an album or further projects would kind of alienate your audience for not knowing what type of style you are, or if you have a certain niche into what you're trying to do?
No, because honestly, I don't give a fuck.
He stole that from me.
Okay,
no, I did not.
That's pretty fair. But is there anything from the beginning and end of creating a track or an album, as now that you've done for so long, that you lean towards more than anything else of a sense of familiarity, or you feel that familiarity like breeds a certain level of contempt and it just stifles any type of creativity?
Well, let me answer. Well, let me try to answer this question. Well, it all has to be. We're a rock band, so it has to be rock. That's a given. But we fuse it with other elements, but without losing the essence of what the band is supposed to be.
Okay.
So it's not if it has elements of hip hop, elements of jazz, or elements of even bachata. I think even funk we have put in some of the background tracks and stuff like that. It's there. It might not be obvious, but if you pay attention, it's there. But it's never gonna be like that's gonna be the main theme of the song. It's more, it's more like beef and potatoes, and then it's always gonna be beef and potatoes, but we might like add something else, another ingredient. But it's always gonna be that. You're always gonna expect like a rocking song with great drumming, great guitar playing, great melodies, great vocals, and it's never gonna stray too far away from what rock is. But it will incorporate other elements of other music, and pretty much the song tells us what it is that it needs, and we accommodate to that without straying too far from what the essence of the band should be. I think I got it right.
I mean, when it comes to the part of the question was stifling creativity, I don't think it does because of the fact that we fuse so much together. And as Leo said, the song usually calls for what we need, what it needs. If something's not working out, then you just got to scrap it and just go where the feeling is. That's mostly how we approach the songwriting. It's like it feels like it should go this way. So the body and the voice is a natural guide that we use in order to write the music.
All right. So lyrically, I'm a lyrics head. I've said this before, even before this interview. Pretty good lyrics. Go straightforward. I made certain compliments. I don't try to put comparisons because, as Thomas Jefferson once said, comparison is the killer of joy. But is there any point where you write a song or you actually listen to it back and then you're just like, damn, it sounds too much like this and it sounds like too much of this, and does it irk you, or you just like have to just go back to the boards and just be like, you know what, let me change it up?
That's funny. First of all, that was a good quote. Anyway, yeah, of course, all the time. I'm like, God, this is actually earlier today. I was writing one of the new songs for the full length record that we're recording. As we're pushing this out, and one of the things I was just like, damn, this sounds too much like Alter Bridge. It sounds too much like this song, or and I was just like kind of kidding myself. So I'm like, oh, I got to change the vocal melody now. It is one of those things. You do hear that, and comparison is the killer of joy. So I'm just like, now I gotta go back to the drawing board. But sometimes, if the song calls for it, and if it does sound like something else or whatever, then so be it. At the end of the day, it's not like I'm taking their exact riffs or their exact lyric or their exact melodies and placing it into my song. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not ripping off of them. It's just, I guess, influenced by them. For lack of a better description.
Yeah,
Like most bands are.
like
Like most bands do. You take the blueprint of all the history that rock and roll has and all the ideas that come up previously, and you try to add your own flavor to it, and you try to improve. Maybe to you try to improve on something you've heard before. But the cool thing between us is like if he does something like that, or I come up with something like that, we'll call each other on it. Like, oh no, let's go somewhere else. That's going too close to something we already heard before. So we kind of keep it in check, and so that is when we're talking about the writing process, obviously. So we keep each other in check, and so it works.
So one of the biggest things is that there's nothing new under the sun. It's always been said, more or less, and you pretty much covered that. But I'm also like, what do you guys do? Do you put yourself in the echo chamber when you're writing, when you're trying to produce into something that's new? Or you're just listening to something in your head and just block everything else? Or you listen to something familiar in order to get yourself in a rhythm to do so?
No, usually for me, it's I hear something in my head and then I just lay it down. Whether it's on the phone, the voice memo. A lot of times the best, honestly, a lot of the best ideas that I have come from me washing dishes or
In the shower.
in the shower when I'm in the train.
Late at night at
Yeah.
1 o'clock, you open your eyes, you're like, oh, that's a great melody. Where's my phone?
Yeah.
Exactly, like sometimes it is one of those random times where the
Mostly it's in
insomnia
the
kicks in.
most inappropriate time.
Are there
The most
times when
inappropriate
inspiration hits that you lose out a melody or something else in an opportune moment, and you're just so frustrated that you always want to come back to it, but it leads to a different type of song that was similar, and you're just like, wait, this is better than actually what I thought in the first place?
Yeah, that happens. I mean, all the time. Anytime you're thinking and you're trying to create, for me personally, when I sit down with a guitar and say, Jacel tells me like, well, tomorrow bring a riff or bring an idea, I try not to listen to music. I'll try to cure myself from music, and then I'll sit down. Mostly because you'll always try to call back to the last thing that you heard.
Which is true.
So I try not to listen to music for a period of time, and then I try to come up with my own thing. But mostly the way that we do it, he's the main writer. He writes the bulk of all the songs. I'm more like a sounding board for him. So I'll come in, I'll listen to what he's worked on, and I'll criticize it or tell him that let's do it longer. Or maybe it's too short, or whatever it is, or maybe your voice is too high, or your voice is not long enough. Whatever the what comes up to my mind, and then I try to be a sounding board for him, so he's always writing something fresh and not repeating himself. And that's what we try to do. Not try to repeat ourselves constantly. Always, and that's the element that comes when you put other types of music behind the structure of a rock song. And the idea is that you will hear something different, and that way it won't always sound the same.
Okay.